afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the analyst presentation. Welcome the media to the analyst presentation of Techcombank today. And I would like to say hello to analysts inside and outside of Vietnam who are watching our presentation online at www.techcombank.com.vn/investors. Ladies and gentlemen, as you may know, 2019, Techcombank achieved outstanding business results, which helped us to become one of the most efficient banks in Vietnam. Techcombank as a brand has also been listed in the top 500 banks and most valuable banks in the world by Bank Finance in 2020. And you may be wondering what is the important contributor to our outstanding results. And our program today will aim to answer all your questions. So our program consists of two parts. In the first part, the members of our BOM will give you deeper perspectives and tell you stories about Techcombank and our business operations in 2019. And we will also give you updates on our transformation from 2016 to 2020. And after the 15 minutes break, we will come back here and we go to the Q&A session then. And now I'd like to invite the CEO Nguyễn Lê Quốc Anh to give the opening speech. Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, thank you all for being here. Although I know that a lot of things has occurred recently. So first of all, thanks to all of you. And as Thuy said, 2019 was a very successful year for Techcombank based on our numbers and results. So Techcombank is one of the leading banks in terms of profit before tax. But given that context, and today we'll be talking about 2019, but we, as you may know, we know that what is the impact of the coronavirus outbreak on Techcombank and the Vietnamese economy in general, and our plan for 2020. Later, Mr. Trường, my colleague, will be sharing with you about that. And once again, thanks to all of you, despite the coronavirus outbreak, and you are still here today to share with us, to listen to us. So once again, a round of applause to all of you. And I know that you may have some questions about changes at Techcombank in a few years to come. I'd like to announce that by the end of this year, I will be finishing my tenure as a CEO at Techcombank, and then we'll have a new CEO, and we'll be talking about that later on. And today, we would like to focus more on our business results that we achieved in 2019. And once again, our business results in 2019 was a record year for us in terms of revenue, profits, and most importantly, our new customer acquisition. And later, Vân Anh and Phượng will be talking about that. And we have grown for 17 consecutive quarters since Q4 2015, and this is a record, very important, impressive record for me myself, and that means that we Techcombank's executives are very capable of leading the bank. So what will happen in 2020 and subsequent years, I believe that Techcombank's executives are fully capable of addressing all the concerns of 2020. And I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Trường, to share about the economy in 2019 and what is going on in 2020. And Mr. Trường will also be talking about the bank's perspectives on the coronavirus outbreak and what is the impact on the world's economy and the Vietnamese economy and Techcombank as well. And then Mr. Tuấn Anh will be talking about our strategy, our plan ahead, and all the numbers over that we have achieved over the last 5 years. And after that, Mr. Tuấn Anh will invite Ms. Vân Anh, Head of Marketing, to explain more about our strategy, our customer centricity strategy at Techcombank, and what we have done to execute that strategy. After Ms. Vân Anh finished her presentation on brand positioning, Ms. Phượng will be elaborating on uh, customer centricity strategy and what we have done over the last year to execute that strategy based on our customer insight, led by marketing, and what are the numbers that we have achieved. And last but not least, Mr. Bang will be recapping what are our achievements in our balance sheet, our revenues, our profits, and most importantly, what is happening as we're shifting our balance sheet, our credit costs, and over the last 5 years, how the cost has changed over the last 5 years. So these are the things that we want to cover today. So 2019 was an important year for us because we finished the first 4 years of our 5-year plan, and we will tell you what we've done over the last 5 years, what are the results that we have achieved, so that we can look forward to 2020 and beyond that. And once again, thanks to all of you for spending your time here despite this difficult period. Over to you, Chuan. Thank you, Chuan. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for coming here with us today. And I believe that you are very interested in the macroeconomic in Vietnam and the financial industry in 2020, as well as in 2019. And as QA said, the COVID-19 outbreak has some impact on our economy and our business operations at Techcombank. So I'd like to share briefly with you Techcombank's view on this topic. Let me give me a minute for the slide. Okay, I'm fine now. First of all, I'd like to give you a review of 2019. So apparently 2019 was a very good year for the Vietnamese economy. Our growth was 7.5%. So for the 2 straight years, our economy grew at more than 7%, which was a very good result, and which gave us a lot of confidence that we can go forward on this area. So we look at the private sector first. Including the Vietnamese private sector and the FDI sector, which contribute about 62% of the country's GDP, 2.4% higher than the state sector. And we also see that of the growing sector, industry and construction are the fastest growing sectors in Vietnam. So you can see it is growing at 11%, and services is growing at 8%, and agriculture is growing at much a lower rate. So that confirms that in recent years, Vietnam has gradually become a workshop of the world in the global supply chain. So not only international business, but also local businesses are also participating in its value chain. Now, this is a very strong motivation for the country to continue our growth momentum in coming years. For a deeper analysis, you can see here there are two areas. Here I want to say FDI on your left-hand side, the black column. So the FDI investment over the last 5 years has grown stably at about 9% on annually on average, and 70% of FDI is concentrated on manufacturing. Moreover, our FDI to GDP ratio is the highest in the region at about 7%. In the region, the ratio is only 2 to 3%. So obviously, given the COVID-19 outbreak and the US-China trade war, obviously the diversification of workshops apart from China. So we have lots of opportunities from this. And you can see that Vietnam's trade surplus has hit a record high of 11 billion US dollars, about a 64% increase compared to 2018. So the SBV bought 20 USD, raising the Vietnam's foreign currency reserves to a record high of $20 billion, which is very encouraging. And I also see that some local businesses in certain sectors, they also increased their export dramatically in 2019, especially garments and textile, wood production, leatherware, shoe production. And these are the fast growing, and these are local businesses, and they grow at more than 8% compared to the average. So these are very good, encouraging news. Mr. QA mentioned COVID-19, and previously we forecasted that Vietnam's GDP growth in 2020 is 6.8%, equivalent to the number forecasted by the government. But given this COVID-19 outbreak, I'm sure there will be some constraints on our GDP growth on a global and on a local scale. So according to international banks' estimation, world economy may slow down at 0.4 to 0.5%. And of course, the coronavirus outbreak has not occurred for a long time, and it cannot be compared to the SARS epidemic in 2003, when the Chinese economy was still quite small. And now you can see that COVID-19 has spread to other areas other than Asia. So it has spread to Europe and the Middle East. So the base case at Techcombank is that as the coronavirus outbreak is contained by the end of March 2020, and the worst case that it will be constrained by the end of June 2020, and the impact on Vietnamese economic growth will be 0.5 to 1% of our GDP, mostly on mostly on tourism, leisure, and some import and export businesses, which are working with China, for example. So that will have an impact on of 0.5 to 1% of our country's GDP.
Despite that fact, we believe that the stability, the macroeconomic stability of Vietnam is still maintained and under good control. The CPI of Vietnam, if you follow the trend of CPI movement of Vietnam, you may be worried because at the early January, CPI was standing at quite high level. However, if we look at a longer term trend, I think that CPI, which was high in January, was only temporary because of the pork price. However, in 2020, due to the global economic slowdown, oil prices will stay at a low level, and there is a high likelihood that the Vietnamese government can control other prices like electricity, education, and healthcare. So I think that the government of Vietnam can maintain the CPI of 4%, and this is very important for macroeconomic stability. In recent years, I think that CPI is number one factor for macroeconomic stability. And that's why at Techcombank, we want to maintain a credit growth rate of 18 to 19%, because this is the best scenario for us to grow. Let us move on to talk about two other factors that have direct impact on the banking sector. And these are exchange rate, foreign exchange rate. On the slide, you can see that since the beginning of this year, because of the impact of the coronavirus, there are some depreciation, for example, for the Thai baht, or the Korean won, or the Singaporean dollar depreciating by 4%. However, the exchange rate between the Vietnamese dong and the US dollar is only slightly decreasing by 0.2 to 0.3%, which is very light depreciation. And at the same time, in 2020, the foreign exchange inflow into Vietnam is also going down because we can lose about 5 billion US dollars in terms of revenue from the tourism and hospitality industry. But I think that Vietnam can still maintain a reserve, international reserve of 90 billion US dollars. And given the exchange rate between Vietnamese dong and US dollars, with quite a slight movement, we can still maintain healthy international payment activities by Techcombank's customers, and there is not much risk there. Last but not least, I would like to talk about banking system liquidity, as well as the interest rates in the banking industry. More recently, we have conducted a survey with our customers, our corporate customers, and there are some customers which have been impacted by their reduced trade activities with China and the demand for capital by these customers, by these enterprises may go down. So it may be a challenge for us to maintain a healthy credit growth rate of 13 to 14%. On the deposit side, we will still be able to maintain quite healthy growth, and the NPL ratio in the banking sector continue to decrease in recent years. So what we can see from this is that the banking sector is becoming stronger and healthier, and the LDR ratio may go down to 18.5 to 89%, and the liquidity is also quite stable and healthy, and the deposit interest rate as well as the lending interest rates may also go down as directed by the Central Bank of Vietnam, the SBV. So these are the main highlights about the macroeconomic picture of Vietnam. We may have some slowdown due to the coronavirus, but we believe that there is strong momentum for the Vietnamese economy to grow in the future. And now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Tuấn Anh Đỗ, and he is the head of our Corporate Affairs Division, to give you an update on our strategy. Thank you, Mr. Trường. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Đỗ Tuấn Anh, and I'm head of the Corporate Affairs Division, and it is my great privilege to share with you about some information about our business performance of Techcombank in 2019. And I believe that this is also a very good time for us to look ahead as well as to look back at how our strategy was executed during the past 5 years. You may well remember that we have one-page strategy on this slide, where we have the customer centricity as our approach and strategic approach. And in order to realize our aspiration of becoming the best bank in Vietnam, we don't want to become the best bank in terms of the biggest asset, biggest equity capital, or biggest in terms of number of branches. Instead, we want to become the best bank in Vietnam in terms of operational efficiency. And to date, we are proud to be the leading bank in terms of operational efficiency among local banks. If you look at our ROA ratio during the past years, it is 2.86%, which is highest in the market. In addition, most of our strategic objectives that we set for ourselves in our 5-year strategy was achieved by the end of last year and beginning this year. In order to become the bank with the biggest capitalization value, you can see that in May 2018, we were successful with our IPO exercise, reaching the market cap of 6.5 billion US dollars. In addition, in order to have a market share of 10% in our selected market segments, we have achieved 10% market share in affluent customers or in the mortgage product. And we are also leading banks in terms of card business, bank card, as well as digitalization. And regarding our objective of 30% year-on-year growth, our TOI now is growing at more than 20% a year. And if you look at the composition of our revenue, non-interest income is now standing at 32%. And our year-on-year growth for non-interest income is also growing at more than 30% a year. In order to have more than 4 products being used by one customer, we are now focusing on affluent and mass affluent customers. We already achieved that objective of having 4 or even more products for customer, and we will continue to achieve further achievements going forward. If you look at the big picture of our operational efficiency and operational excellence of Techcombank during the past 5 years, I mean from 2015 to 2020, we have been able to double our total assets. At the same time, our equity capital has increased 4 times, partly thanks to your very strong commitment by the shareholders, because Techcombank has retained our earnings in order to expand our capital base, and our CAR ratio is 14%, which is nearly double the regulatory requirement of 9%. So this is a very healthy CAR ratio. In terms of CASA, I mean current account and savings account, we have been very successful in increasing our CASA deposit balance, and this helps us so much in reducing our cost of funds. And this is the first year for Techcombank to achieve the revenue from deposits higher than revenue from lending. And this will allow us to grow even further and more healthily in the future. In terms of our PBT targets, Techcombank has been consistently hit our PBT target, and during the past 5 years, our PBT has increased 7 times from 2015 to 2020 at the year-on-year growth of 23%. And this shows our strong commitment as well as a strong momentum by executing our strategy of customer centricity. At Techcombank, we talk about customer centricity in everything we do. However, we need to translate it into real actions, and not only customer centricity is reflected in the behavior and the actions of employees, but also seen by our customers. And our customers are now banking with us more and more. During the past 5 years, the number of our customers is increasing at 23.5% every year. Especially in 2019, the number of new customers that we have been acquiring is more than 1 million customers, which is 2 times as higher than the rate of new customers acquisition in other years. The number of customers active on e-banking, internet banking, and mobile banking is growing exponentially. And that means that customers trust our Techcombank services and applications on the internet. Another indication of customers' trust is that we are number 1 bank in terms of number of transaction volume, using Visa debit card and credit card. And we also have fast mobile banking application, which is very successful, being used by many customers in the market. Thanks to customers' trust, we have been achieving strong, stable, and sustainable growth rate over the past 5 years. On the revenue side, we achieved 23.5% growth year on year, and for the 17 consecutive quarters, we have achieved continuous growth for 17 consecutive quarters, and that shows Techcombank's competitive advantage of Techcombank as well as the capabilities of the bank's management in leading the whole bank in delivering the strategy in the first transformation period as well as into the future. In terms of the strong growth rate, you may wonder whether it is sustainable and whether it is of good quality. And if you look at the slide, you can see that our total assets is not the biggest in the banking sector. And we have a proven and differentiated strategy of low risk, high returns during the past years. And we are growing our credit 2 times from 2015 to 2019. However, our provision cost has decreased by 7 times. That shows that we are focusing on the selected focus subsegments that is in line with our differentiated strategy of low risk, high return. We are now lessening our concentration and reliance on large corporate customers, and we are switching more and more on relying on the retail segments in order to ensure the good quality of our assets. The strong and fast growth with good quality credit is quite differentiating Techcombank from other banks. But the next question may be whether we are relying too much on a particular industry or economic sector, are we relying too much on a particular group of customers? In other words, are we having a big concentration risk? And here we are pleased to share with you how we control that type of risk. At Techcombank, in the last 4 to 5 years, we decided to focus on 6 economic sectors that have high potential growth that contribute more than 50% of GDP of Vietnam and account for nearly 40% of the labor force of Vietnam. Together, these 6 economic sectors play a lot of important role in the economy of Vietnam. For example, hospitality, telecommunication, FMCG, and for each economic sector, Techcombank is building strong capabilities so that we can serve the economic sector by using the value chain approach. By that, I mean we don't focus on just one player along the value chain. Instead, we try to serve all players across the value chain, from the suppliers to the distributors or wholesalers to the retailers and end users. And we are also using the value chain to the housing sector as well as other sectors. And this approach will continue to be applied in the next 5-year strategy. The slide here can show you an example of our approach in the housing sector. Using the value chain approach in the housing sector, Techcombank is now serving not only the developers of real estate, but also we are serving other players across the value chain. For example, the construction companies or the building materials manufacturers, as well as the small and medium-sized enterprises, as well as the end users, because the end users will be the final buyers of the housing unit, and they are also the key selected segments for the retail business of Techcombank, because they belong to the affluent and mass affluent subsegments. And adopting this value chain approach, we follow the customers from the development phase to the purchasing phase. And at the moment, we are managing our mortgage portfolio by the phases of the project development. And For example, when the developer has the land to develop their project, when they have a groundbreaking ceremony and then they construct the houses and the buildings, apartment buildings, until they sell the housing units and apartments or villas to the end users. So along this process, we have been able to lend to the end users. 42% of our portfolio are loans to the end users in terms of mortgage products. And thanks to our customers' insight, we have been able to manage the risks, and we have reduced our risk-weighted ratio from 120% to only 70% for the real estate projects, from the construction phase to the selling phase. This is how Techcombank approach a certain housing sector without having concentration risk, without relying too much on a particular group of customers or industry. And thanks to customers' insight, we can offer to them suitable solutions to make sure that they are satisfied with our customers, with our products. And now I'd like to give it over to Ms. Vân Anh, Head of Marketing, to share with you more information.
Thank you, Mr. Tuấn for sharing about Techcombank's strategy that we pursue over the last 5 years. And now I'd like to give you an update on our customer centricity, on how it has been translated into our daily work at Techcombank. First of all, our wish is that we wish to satisfy our customers' needs the most. This is the motivation that everyone at Techcombank has. And this is our mission. So customer satisfaction does not only include financial solutions, but also customer experience and the way we interact with our customers to ensure best customer satisfaction. Now we have lots of customers. How can we ensure that we can best satisfy their needs? So we have some of the prerequisite conditions. For example, customers with personas, needs, financial behavior, lifestyles. So we group them by those criteria. And here I have an example for you in terms of individual customers. We divide them into 3 segments. First, the affluent customers. Apart from simple daily transactions, these customers have more sophisticated needs. For example, they also wish to make investments. They want to protect their family's health and manage their wealth in an optimal manner. So we will design solutions based on their particular needs. We do not only provide financial solutions, but we also care about who support them, what is the message, what are the channels that they can make use of. So we will design all of these based on customer journeys. So as you can see here, as we concentrate on a particular customer segment based on our capabilities and priority, we have achieved large market shares in that particular segment. For affluent customers, we make up 50% of the market share. Next, we come to the second segment, mass affluent customers, and we cannot cater to all mass customer needs directly to ensure everybody is satisfied. Now, these customers have more simple needs. They want safety, convenience, and support from us. Although their needs may be simple, but these are very necessary for their lives. And for this particular customer segment, we design specific solutions and channels for them so that they can transact with us. How can we understand our customers' needs and satisfy them? So on this page, to us, what is most important is our focus customer CEO. When I talk about CEO, everybody looked at Mr. Nguyễn Lê Quốc Anh, but let me explain CEO. C means customer, including individual and corporate customer. E means employees. We have more than 10,500 employees. O means owners. all the shareholders, investors, so CEO play an important role to us. And what is most important to us is all these customers. I already explained an example of individual customers. Once we understand their needs, we can design effective marketing campaigns for them so that they can use and advocate our products. And once we satisfy their needs, our results are outstanding. Let me give you an example of our zero fee program, which most other banks, most young users are using. So we have more than 2.7 million customers using our online banking platforms. And last year we launched our cashback program for debit cards. And we also look at customer needs to ensure that our customer can transact fast and conveniently and control their financial transaction online and free of charge. And now they get a cashback. And we have very good reception from our customers. And the second group is employees. So when I talk about employees, now I have 10,500 employees at Techcombank. We conduct regular surveys and to understand their needs and pain points. Every quarter we have a Tech Talk event where our executives talk to them in an open manner. They ask us lots of questions, lots of tough questions. Every 2 years we conduct our employee EES survey in order to continuously improve our score. And our EES score is 74%, 77.4% among the top 20 leading banks in the region. And we also conduct OHI, Organizational Health Index survey, and our score is 88% among the top 25 institutions in the region. And last but not least, I'd like to talk about the owners or investors like yourselves here. And we got feedback that you would like to receive transparent periodical updates and interaction between the bank and the investors. That's why we are here together today. So that's the way we work at Techcombank every day. On the next page, I'd like to share with you that how we build our branding at Techcombank. We do not only provide financial solutions for our customers, but we also focus on building our branding for our Techcombank. Why branding? We conduct surveys based on customer insight, and our survey showed that 67% of our customers will use our brand if they love it. 30% use it because they have good experience, and only 20% use it because of the pricing. So we need to focus on customer insight. And over the last 5 years, our branding strategy, we have talked to over more than 10,000 people to understand their needs and ambitions, and thereby we can establish our missions. A brand can only survive if we have a mission. So we build our mission at Techcombank to enable every single Vietnamese to be more successful in their own ways. And now we have built a brand positioning, be greater every day. By the way, some people ask me that be greater means that I am better than you or not. No, it's not that we mean. It means that we make bigger effort every day to achieve our objectives and dreams, and we want to become a better you, a better version of you than you yesterday. So that's the message of our brand positioning. So what about execution of our brand positioning? I am confident and proud that at Techcombank we execute our brand positioning in a different way compared to our competitors on the market, and we are on track compared to some large brands on the world. Normally we use a traditional way. Whatever products and service we have, we introduce them to our customers, and if we have a strong brand, and then we introduce our brand to our customers. This is not about right or wrong, but maybe customers may look forward to advertisements, and they may feel indifferent to our brand positioning, and they do not interact with us. And without interaction, there's no engagement between us and our customers, and they will not love us as a brand. So that's why customer insight plays a role here. We study more than 1,000 customers in terms of the Be Greater lifestyle. We talk to more than 1,000 customers to understand what they are interested in, not not just about banking. So when we talk about their interests, they explain that they are interested in self-development, skill development, health, success, and prosperity. So we choose suitable topics to interact with them. And once they interact with us, we do not sell any products at all to them. We just interact with them. We show that we sympathize with them. So it does not mean that we do not build our brand positioning, but we are looking at the Be Greater lifestyle, which is a movement-led communication. And Techcombank still pursue the Be Greater every day, and we still provide outstanding financial solution services for our customers. And at the same time, we also need to acquire or attract a lot of talents for our bank, because talent are the most precious asset to a bank. In the short term, you may see that first, the Be Greater lifestyle needs to be maintained as we talk with our target customers and help them to be more successful. On the other hand, we try to be greater every day. In the long run, these two lines uh, will become unified and stronger, and in the next 5 and 10 years, people will think of Techcombank as a Be Greater bank and Be Greater lifestyle. So that's our objectives for brand positioning. Over the last 5 years, what are our achievements? So I'd like to repeat our objectives or aspirations that we pursue at Techcombank. First, we want to achieve $1 billion for our brand value. Why 1 billion? Now our brand value is $401 million, and we also want to be the top 10 most valuable brands in Vietnam, loved by more than 90 million people in Vietnam. This is very important to me because uh, Vietnamese people need to love Techcombank as a brand because Techcombank enables them to be more successful. So I'd like to talk about some marathon numbers here. So now Techcombank leads um, endurance sports movements in Vietnam, and more than 4,000 runners participated in the Techcombank marathon in the first year, and now last year more than 13,000 people participated in the marathon in Ho Chi Minh City, and the spirit of marathon is very similar to the spirit of Techcombank. Never give up, always stretch your limits. So 5 years ago, we had more than 400 new customers per year, but now we acquire more than 1 new million customers a year. And our NPS, Net Promoter Score, which people use to share, now our score is 56%, which is very high in the region. So we have acquired more than 1 million customers a year, and in 2015 our brand value was $88 million only, and last year our brand value was $401 million. So this brand value increase means that we are very successful with our brand positioning and our excellent business results and the positive impact from the economy. So that's why we have achieved such a great growth. What does $1 billion mean to us? If our brand value is $1 billion, we will be among the top 200 most valuable banks in the world. And now we rank 327th, but we have a lot of things to do ahead to rank top 100. Given those achievements over the last 5 years, what are we going to do next in order to maintain this growth and maintain our customer trust? So next, we will be introducing a Be Greater Hub in April, which is an electronic portal with the Be Greater apps, where we provide information for our target customers, mostly young people, about what they are interested in, for example, education, skills, sports, health, and how to start up and to make rich. So young people can access this portal and customize their page and find somebody with the same interests and achieve their plans. With the endurance sports events that we organized over the last 3 years, Techcom Marathon and Ironman, and this year will be kick off the Hanoi Marathon as well. And with these events, we have contributed nearly 3 billion VND for each event. For the kilometers that we run. I'd like to share a new thing this year based on customer insight. This year we will be introducing the Be Greater, Be Greener lifestyle. We have conducted surveys on Be Greener. Now, Be Greener is a very interesting topic. More than 1 million people interact on the Be Greener topic, and we will be leading activities that change people's habits of using plastic and replacing them with more environmentally friendly materials, and we'll be also trying to grow more trees in cities and schools. We hope that the media and the government will also help us to promote this Be Greener spirit to the community, and then we also build the Be Greater Foundation, which will provide finances from our customers, our employees, from different organizations, so that we can contribute charity to the community and to the people in need, so that our activities will become even more meaningful. Last but not least, I'd like to say that customer insight is our direction, and we wish to enable every Vietnamese people to be more successful. So we help Vietnamese people to achieve their dreams. And if there are a lot of successful people in our community, then our community is developed, and then Techcombank's success will be very stable. I would like to give the floor to Ms. Phượng, head of our PFS division, and she will be talking about customer insight, given the Be Greater strategy. What strategy has PFS applied over the last 5 years to achieve our great results over the last years?
Thank you very much, Vân Anh, and good afternoon. And I would like to express our sincere thanks for taking your time sitting with us this afternoon. And I would like to continue with and follow up with what Vân Anh has shared with you and about what we have been doing in terms of our retail business over the past years. As you already know, we focus a lot on customers' insights so that we can provide comprehensive and holistic financial services and solutions to our selected customers segments and subsegments. Affluent and mass affluent customers are two of our selected customer segments. They have very diverse and sophisticated demand for financial products and services, and we focus on how to serve their needs throughout their life. Just begin with very simple day-to-day activities and need. They have a lot of needs for payment services, for transaction, and we have been striving over the past years so that we can enhance our customers' experience, so that they can bank with us in a secure way, in a safe and convenient way. Regarding their savings and investment needs, we also develop different products, for example, term deposit, savings products, together with bond products, so that we can allow our customers to make savings and make investment activities, conduct investment activities. Regarding customers with stable sources of income, we provide them with different loans, types of loans, so that they can buy a house or buy a car before they can accumulate enough savings to make a full down payment. At the same time, we also try to provide some products in order to serve their needs for protection products, via different and diverse products for bank assurance. Those are some examples of the products and financial solutions that we provide and cater to the affluent and mass affluent segments. Regarding mass or plus affluent mass customers or mass plus customers that have a household annual income of 300 million Vietnamese dong per year. We are also providing them with different products in order to serve their day-to-day needs for protection, for transaction, for payment, as well as credit cards if they have a stable source of income from their wages and salaries, rather than just prioritizing on loan products. These are the different types of products and services that we provide depending on their needs as well as our understanding and insights of their needs. Our customers not only need financial solutions and services, they also want to have good experience in terms of simple access and convenience to banking services. And for that reason, we have been striving to develop call centers as well as hubs and ATMs, as well as other platforms and channels, so that we can optimize the customer's experience across all types of touch points we have with the customers. In addition, we also have very big and important campaigns in order to facilitate the customers to change their banking behaviors. For example, we have the Big Zero Fee campaign where we waive all transaction fees when they conduct transactions online with us. We also have the unlimited 1% cashback program when our customers use our debit cards to make purchases online or to make payments with the POS. So unlimited means that we don't limit our cashback, 1% cashback, by the type of customers, the type of transaction, or the value of the transaction. And these two flagship campaigns by Techcombank is to change the customer's behavior in order to make it more convenient and less costly for our customers to conduct transactions, to meet their customers' needs, as well as to ensure the best experience and optimal convenience. So you may wonder, how did we do that? Let me share with you an example so that you can see how we can execute our strategy in terms of retail business at Techcombank. Given our deep insight into our customers' needs, we find out that customers want to conduct a lot of transactions. They don't want to use too much cash in their day-to-day life. They want to have fast and convenient transaction, secure transaction, and at cheap cost, low cost. And thanks to that understanding, we try to automate and digitalize different channels of transaction as well as the use of technology. And we even waive transaction fees for online transactions and even give them 1% cashback when they use our debit cards. During the past 3 years, we invested more than 100 million US dollars into technology in order to allow Techcombank to meet the needs of customers. In addition to our heavy investment in technology, human resource also plays a very important role, because we need capable labor force so that we can operate the technology and the system to serve our customers. Our employees need to be capable to develop different solutions, different channels, different technological application, so that we can ensure the most convenient channels of transaction as well as low cost. As you can see, more and more of our customers are transacting online. In 2018, we only have 5.5 customers who are active. And this number in 2016, it was only 20% of our customers used online transactions. Our number of transactions was 184 million transactions for retail customers. This is 3 times higher than that of 2018 and 20 times higher than that of 2016 when we first kicked off the Big Zero Fee campaign. And the value of transaction is also very important. 2.7 zillion Vietnamese dong is the value of transaction conducted in 2019, 3 times higher than that of 2018 and 20 times higher than that of 2016. These are very impressive numbers based on our customers' insight and responding to customers' needs. Let me talk a little bit in more details about different customers groups and subsegments. That growth is quite consistent across all customer segments. For example, if you look at the affluent customer segment, each month they conduct 26 transactions with us on average throughout 2019. And the volume of transactions has increased 3 times over the past 3 years. All other customer segments have the same impressive growth story. And as you can see on the slide, more and more customers are banking with us, they are trusting us, and they conduct a lot of transactions with Techcombank. When banking with us, in order to allow them to conduct transactions on a daily basis, they will maintain big balance in their current accounts. And with the transaction value of 2.7 zillion Vietnamese dong in 2019, our CASA balance is 46 trillion Vietnamese dong, which is 86% growth compared to the previous year, and total CASA deposits now hit 83 trillion Vietnamese dong, and 58% is occupied by retail segment. CASA deposits is now occupying 34.5% of total deposits. In 2016, it was only 22.7%. We not only engage our customers through convenient and cheap transactions, we are also able to reduce operational costs by switching transaction channels for our customers, and now they are conducting transactions online. For example, term deposits used to be made at the branches, and now they are conducted online. By the end of last year, nearly 36% of term deposits balance were conducted online. In 2016, the number was only 2.8%. That means in 2016, most of our customers made their term deposits offline. I mean, they went to the branches instead of making term deposits online. Not only allowing our customers to conduct more transactions more conveniently and faster and cheaper, we also try to encourage them to change their behavior in terms of using cash. As you can see, we try to increase our transactions online and also on card business. In 2019, Techcombank was awarded the best bank in terms of debit as well as credit Visa cards in Vietnam. And this is totally in line with the SBV's direction when Techcombank tries very hard in order to encourage customers to use non-cash payment transactions. We are very consistent and persistent in executing our strategy. In 2016 to 2018, on a quarterly basis, our CASA deposits was growing at 27%. But in 2018 and 2019, each quarter, our CASA balance increased by 37% every quarter. And that shows the results of our persistence in pursuing our customer centricity approach. And that also allows us to reduce our cost of funds. Since the launch of our Big Zero Fee campaign, we achieved 1.2 trillion of saving. Was the number of savings in terms of cost of funds that we achieved. On the lending side, we were quite persistent and consistent in customer centricity by increasing our loan product on low risk products. In 2019, for example, our total lending balance has increased by 45% compared to the previous year at the absolute value of 105 trillion Vietnamese dong. 84% of that comes from affluent and mass affluent customer segments. That means we rely on low risk and high return, those customers that have a stable sources of income that are capable of paying back their loan. At the same time, we also restructure the composition of our lending portfolio to ensure that we are moving in line with our low risk, high return strategy. Mortgage products, for example, is our champion product, accounting for 81% of our total portfolio. Auto loans, as well as other credit products, for example, credit cards, are other sources of income on our lending side. When we issue credit cards, we give priority to those customers that have a good and strong credit history with us. So that we can satisfy ourselves that they will have the money to pay back their credit balance in line with our low risk, high return strategy. Those are some of the main highlights in our retail business that I would like to share with you over the past 4 years. And customer centricity means that we put the customers at the center of everything we do. We try to maintain a low risk, high return strategy in everything we do in terms of our deposit balance as well as our credit balance. And we have been increasing our credit balance by more than 40%, and 28% of our revenue comes from credit activities, and 37% comes from from deposits and fee income. And now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Bằng Chinh, our CFO, to share with you some more details on our financial performance in 2019. Mr. Chinh Bằng.
Cảm ơn chị Phượng về phần trình bày vừa rồi ạ.
My name is Bang Trinh, CFO of Techcombank. I will be giving my remarks in English in case you want to take a moment to put on your headsets. So at the last analyst presentation, I talked a lot about the momentum in our business. I'll reinforce that today when we talk about the record financial results we achieved in 2019. At the same time, I also want to emphasize quite a bit about the resilience of our business model and strategy. I think my colleagues have talked a lot about low risk, high return. I'll emphasize that as I go through the financial results. I think TA, Jung, Van An, all of them have talked a lot about some of the financial results already, but again, want to tie that all together. And I think it's very important as we think about the current market context that we're in and the operating environment with the recent virus outbreak. So starting off, we'll talk about the headline revenue growth. We finished 2019 with 21.1 trillion in total revenues, a record for the bank. Importantly, it was a well-balanced mix of revenues across our different customer segments. In our wholesale banking, you can see, and this is one of the questions that have come out, is what is the concentration? But if you actually look at the composition of our wholesale book relative to the entire revenue base, even the large called VVIP customers represent less than 10% of our total revenues. In our business banking, which was up 29% year over year, Again, strong growth in a segment that we see much potential as the economy continues to develop. Roughly, that was on the back of 43% growth in lending, but importantly there as well, 83% of that short term. Retail, as Phong just mentioned, was a very strong engine of growth, representing now 41% of our total revenues, up from 37% a few years ago. So all in all, well balanced across the spectrum of revenues. So digging a little bit deeper into our net interest income, it's been supported by strong credit growth, despite that being managed ultimately by the SBV. Importantly, as Phong mentioned, the focus has been shifting from growth in our wholesale book to retail and SME, and we enjoyed very strong growth in both segments this year, 45% in retail, 43% in our business banking SME. If you combine our wholesale book with our bonds, that was down 3%. And again, ultimately, we managed that against the limits imposed upon us by the SBV. Importantly, non-interest income, when we talk about the drivers of net interest margin, you can see that even though we've been rotating our book from long-term to short-term, working capital, which can generate up to a compression of 250 basis points or so going from long-term to short-term, and also being competitive in the marketplace in terms of not having the biggest balance sheet, but ultimately being able to compete against what the market will give us in terms of lending rates. We've seen a compression in lending rates, but despite that, very healthy net interest margins. We finished net interest margin with 4.2% at the end of 2019. And a lot of that, again, is driven by the access to low-cost funding, by the growth in our CASA, which was 34.5% from the year prior, up 34.5%, sorry. Now, I want to go in just quickly, really thinking about the interest income, and what it really means for us when we talk about high risk, low return. Sorry, low risk, high return. When you look at our interest income composition, again, we've deliberately shifted the focus and growth from wholesale bank to spread that out into the other segments. And you've seen that both our retail as well as our business bank has grown at a faster rate than our wholesale book over the last few years, at 17 and at 16%. Sorry, at 23 and at 17. Now, the important thing is not so much how much you make, but ultimately how much you keep. And this is a reflection, again, of better customer segmentation, reduction, a write-off of legacy loans, and also knowing where to lend. So when you look at the right-hand chart, you look at our provision expenses has dropped dramatically over the last few years since 2015. Our credit cost has also dropped dramatically. To illustrate, basically 5 years ago in 2015, roughly half of our interest income was eaten up by provision expenses. That has now dropped to 6%. And correspondingly, we've dropped our risk cost from 2.9% 2015 down to 0.4%. So again, it's not how much you make, it's ultimately how much you keep. And again, very much part and pillar of our low risk, high return strategy. So our net fee income has tripled since 2015 as we continue to focus on the non-lending needs of our customers, both on the retail and corporate side. On the retail side, as Phong mentioned, multiple products that from banca, cards, as well as wealth management products that continue to drive our growth in terms of non-interest income. On the corporate side, likewise, strong growth in terms of demand for our transaction banking services, our bond arranging business, as well as our FX sales. So all of these are large contributors. And again, thinking much more about our customer needs. Folks have asked about where do we see growth in non-interest income. We still see very strong growth. If anything, it's just held back by our ability to continue to improve our solutions, continue to improve our operations, but we see very strong and healthy growth in this part of the business going forward. So when you look at altogether our total revenues, you can see that our non-interest income has outgrown our interest income by almost a factor of 2. over the last few years. Again, this is a function partly of what the SBV gives us, so you can see that our interest income has grown at a similar rate to our credit growth. In the event that that increases, we would expect to see stronger growth in that segment. It's not our target, but again, the low risk, high return is really what we're looking for. And then again, very strong growth on non-interest income. One of the pillars of our low risk, high return strategy remains focusing on our managing our expenses. And there, we've talked about maintaining, again, a cost-income ratio of around 35%, mid-30s, which we did 2019 when you look at year-end. When you look at and break out between the segments of operating expenses, the key is actually where do we focus our expenses? And I think as you go forward, you've seen, well, if you look back, you can see that our amortization expenses have remained relatively flat. We would expect to see that go up as we continue to invest in technology to serve our customers, improve efficiency and productivity at the bank. In terms of headcount, we've grown our headcount by almost 1,300 plus, almost 1,400 this past year to serve the additional customers we've brought on board. A lot of that was in the front line, as I mentioned in the last analyst presentation. As we go forward, we'll continue to look at how to manage that headcount increase, again, through increased productivity, efficiency through our digital channels. And so that's something that we'll continue to maintain a focus on as we grow the business. And at the same time, I think, as I said, amortization expenses will go up as we shift the spending a lot more into the IT spend and find ways to improve efficiency in the rest of the business. So tying that all together, a record year, 25% headline TOI growth and 31% PBT growth. The 12.8 trillion in profit before taxes exceeded our 11.75 that we announced at the AGM last year. A fantastic year. I think the important thing to focus on here is this all came from our core business. So no one-off items, non-recurring. This was really, again, a function of deliberately executing on our strategy and seeing contributions across all the core businesses. So net interest income was up, non-interest income was up. Recoveries, we still continue to see the benefit of that from previously written off loans. Provision expenses have dropped dramatically, again, given the focus on higher quality assets writing off our previously written off legacy loan. And then on the OpEx side, as I touched upon again, we're managing cost discipline. I think, again, it can be best illustrated in terms of what does it mean, low risk, high return. Again, there's that old saying, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. So when you look at the growth rate of our pre-provision versus our post-provision PBT, our post-provision PBT has grown at a rate of 2.5 times that of our pre-provision PBT. So again, by focusing on the right segments, writing off our legacy loans, really being a focus on where we lend, we've been able to retain much more of our income. And will continue to be a strong focus as we go forward. So that's a competitive advantage. And you know, what does that mean by competitive advantage? I'll finish off by saying, in an environment like we are in right now, where there's a bit of uncertainty going forward, one of the key pillars of our strategy has always been to have a robust balance sheet, both robust balance sheet and ample liquidity. And in both cases, we've continued to reinvest all of our earnings back into building our capital base up, which has increased 4 times since 2015. Our CAR ratio now is 15.5%, which is double the regulatory minimum of 8%. And then on the liquidity side, we continue to have access to a diversified source of funding. It's a function of our strong capital position, our strong credit ratings. So we feel very good about our position in terms of being able to really support our customers through this period and also realize some opportunities as they come. So in wrapping up, maybe I'll summarize the pillars that have gotten us to this point and those that will underpin our growth going forward. The low risk, high return strategy is really driven, one, by the continued focus on growing our retail customer segment. It's where the customer needs we see significantly are, as illustrated by TA earlier, and then reinforced by Fung. It's rotating our focus on our wholesale bank and expanding that into other economic segments. But importantly, even within each economic segment, such as housing, knowing how to be able to support it very deeply, understanding where to play and how to manage the risk, as TA illustrated. And we'll take that same type of approach as we expand into the other economic segments, FMCG, auto, and so on. CASA continues to be a very strong engine of helping us maintain a very healthy net interest margin, lowering our funding costs. So again, it allows us to be selective about where we lend, because it's not about we need to be competitive on the lending side in terms of rates, but really, again, being able to maintain low cost of funding. Net fee income. Again, there are growing needs for non-lending needs of our customers. And we can see that there's still very significant opportunities to penetrate our customer base even further. Retail affluent has been a strength, but we see many opportunities in mass affluent and even down to the mass on the non-lending side. Cost management is, again, a focus of ours, and you'll see that continue to be a pillar of strength for us as we go forward. And ultimately, all that ties into very strong balance sheet and ample liquidity. So with that, I think the important part is we're very well equipped to handle whatever comes our way and really to pursue opportunities that come ahead. So thank you very much. We'll wrap that up for now as the formal part of our presentation, take a short break, and then we'll come back for Q&A.
Xin được trân trọng cảm ơn phần trình bày của Giám đốc Khối Tài chính Kế hoạch Trịnh Bằng. Và như các quý vị cũng đã thấy phần trình bày của các thành viên ban.
And with that, we have ended the official presentation by sharing with you a more detailed picture and a good insight into our strategy. And now I would like to invite Mr. Nguyễn Lê Quốc Anh, our CEO, back to the stage to just share with you some highlights of our past 5 years as well as our future. Can we please show the executive summary page? Thank you very much. In order to just wrap it up of our official presentations, we have mentioned a lot of things today, but I think one of the main highlights is that customer is at the center of everything we do. That means we are a customer-centric organization, and that's why we strive and spare no efforts in leading the changes, the positive changes on how Vietnamese people use money and spend money. This is that is what we live and work by, and that is also what we have been doing during the past 5 years. So by customer centricity, we need to understand what they want, what they need. If we don't know what our customers need, we will offer them the wrong solutions, the wrong service, the wrong product. So if we say that we are a customer-centric organization, it does not mean anything if the customers don't think that Techcombank is a good bank. That's why we need to measure how well we live and work by customer-centric strategy is by looking at the number of customers who bank with us. Vietnam has a population of nearly 100 million Vietnamese people, and 2/3 of Vietnamese people don't have a bank account. 1/3 of Vietnamese population have some banking transactions. And during the past year, Techcombank has acquired more than 1 million new customers. That means we have quite a big market share in terms of the customers base that we have. That is the result of our customer centricity approach. And I will be sharing some more information with you so that you can understand what it means. And when we talk about customer centricity, it has to be practiced, embraced and practiced by different teams across the bank. The marketing team, the BB team, the PFS, the retail teams have to work together to analyze what our customers want. And that is quite simple. Our customers want easy, simple, fast, convenient transactions at zero cost or very low cost? And the answer is digitalization. And we cannot be cheaper because now it is zero fee on all online transactions. And if we don't feel that zero fee is not enough, then we give them 1% cashback. So you can see that is the reflection of how well we understand our customers' needs and wants. But doing that alone is not making sense for a profit-making organization, right? Because we are not a charity organization. So if our mission is to serve our customers' financial needs, we need to be sustainable financially. And that's why we need to be having operational excellence. So on the right-hand side, you can see this is what we do. And on the left-hand side, these are the results of what we do. You see? So strategy should be so simple. We do what we say. And when we do something, it needs to bring us some results so that we can be sustainable, so that we can continue to serve our customers. Right? So I think that the numbers are self-explanatory. We only need to explain why we do this, why we choose to focus on those things. But the numbers by themselves are not the objective. They are the results. They are not the leading indicators, but they are the lagging indicators. They are the results that will come if we do the right things right. So again, let me repeat. Our 5-year strategy is to focus on customers, to meet our customers' financial needs. Our financial model is low risk, high return, and that is a proven differentiated strategy. And I like how Techcombank puts it. How much we make is important, but it is not as important as how much we keep, how much we retain. Sometimes you may think that strategy is something very broad, very high level, but I think that our strategy is just responding to customers' need and to make as much money as possible and to keep as much money as possible. And that is what exactly Bang Ching said and TA Do said in their presentations. We try to minimize the risk so that we can retain, we can keep the money we make. Our provision cost during the past 5 years have been falling dramatically because we are very clear about where we lend, who we lend to. If we lend to the wrong borrowers, then it will not be good for them. Many people have non-lending needs. Many customers, be it a corporate, be it an individual, they have non-lending needs as well. And the numbers here are the results. They are not the objectives. The objective that we set for ourselves is to become the best bank in terms of operational efficiency. Can we show again the one-page strategy? We want to become the best bank of Vietnam in terms of operational efficiency. And during the past 5 years, the numbers that we achieve indicates that we are number one. We measure our operational efficiency by ROA. We are number one ROA, 2.9% ROA is the best ROA ratio, not only in Vietnam, but also in the region. When we conducted our IPO exercise nearly 2 years ago, our market cap was more than what we expected, and 10% market share is the average market share that we strive forward. So we want to be the leading bank, because I think that only by leading can we be making our customers successful. So we just want to specialize or focus on selected customer segments or selected economic sectors where we have the comparative advantage. And that's why we want to grow our non-interest income by 30% a year. Why? Because, if we just rely on lending or interest income, we cannot grow our credit unlimitedly, right? If the SBV allows us to grow our credit by only 18% or 20%, then we cannot grow our credit more than that. So the cap is already there by the SBV, and that is beyond our control. That's why we need to think about where else we can make money. What are the other sources of income, of revenue that we can rely on? So when we design our strategy, we need to know where to play and how to play and why. And the reason why is that we have certain competitive advantages, and we need to leverage to the maximum those competitive advantages in changing the behavior, the spending and the purchasing behavior of our Vietnamese people, the way they spend money. And we want to change the behavior of using cash in their day-to-day transactions. If they want to buy a house, for example, they can't carry a suitcase full of cash to make payment. Now can we show the page on the housing ecosystem, the housing value chain? Mr. Đỗ Tuấn Anh have shared with you our example of the value chain approach, because many people may wonder whether we are concentrating too much on real estate or on housing sector. And again, we would like to share with you how we do it. When you look into this a little bit further and in more details, you can see that our lending to the real estate developers is quite small. Only 7 trillion of the total 260 trillion of our lending. Our total lending is 350 trillion, and we only lend to real estate developers at 7 trillion Vietnamese đồng. And only when the developers get the construction permit can we disburse the lending to those developers. And you can see that lending to real estate developers is long term, but at the same time we also lend to the small and medium-sized enterprises, which are the construction companies, the contractors, and the suppliers of building materials. But most of our loan disbursement goes to the end users, the individual customers that buy the house, buy our mortgage product. So according to Basel II calculation, you can see that our risk-weighted assets is quite low. So when you look at the balance sheet of the bank, you can see how the bank operates, where the bank lend to, and we lend to low-risk borrowers, and at the same time we satisfy the financial needs of our customers. The last page regarding the provision cost that Mr. Bằng Trịnh has mentioned before. And this is closely related to how we keep our costs down. How much we make is not how much we keep. And we can maximize the amount we keep by minimizing the provision cost. We can make some interest income, but then we need to deduct from it the cost of provision. And our provisioning costs over the past years for the new loans are shown in red, and provisioning costs for the legacy loans are in gray and dark color. And here on the chart, you can see that our provisioning cost is less than 1% of our total loan balance. We also need to dig a little bit more deeply. What is the coverage ratio? We also need to make sure that we make some provision for the future NPL. And our coverage ratio now is very healthy, about 95% or more than 100%. These are the very important points that we need to keep in mind when we look at how prudent Techcombank is and why Techcombank is strongly growing our revenue. We have very low NPL ratio. We don't lend to the wrong borrowers, to the wrong customers, to the high-risk customers. If my memory serves me right, some questions we received from the analyst presentations last year was that it seems that Techcombank has some one-off revenue. But 2019, we just focus on core banking. And what I told the BOD was that at the beginning of last year was that for 2019, there would be no one-off deal or one-off income. We just look at our core activities. So 2019 is the first year for us that we didn't have any one-off revenue. All of our revenue sources come from core activities. So when you read our financial statements, our profit and loss account, or our balance sheet, and look at the PBT number, at the revenue number, you need to see whether that revenue comes from one-off deals or they come from core activities. And what we decided to do for 2019 is that we would not have any one-off deal for 2019 because, our owner want us to focus on sustainable core activities rather than just one-off income. So the executive summary here, in a nutshell, focuses on responding and satisfying the financial needs of Vietnamese people. Our objective is to change the way Vietnamese people use money, and our proven differentiated strategy is low risk, high return, so that we can keep what we make. Again, thank you very much for coming with us today. I know that, a big gathering is not something advisable in the middle of the coronavirus, but we are full of audience today. Maybe we have a short break? Thank you very much, Mr. Nguyễn Lê Quốc Anh, our CEO. And as Mr. QA said, all activities, all solutions that Techcombank offer is based on our customer centricity approach as well as the low risk, high return strategy. And you are the key audience for us today. And we also have customer centricity in terms of protecting your health when you come with us today. So we also have the hand sanitizer in front of you, and you can feel free to wash and clean your hand if you want to. We can now take a short break for 15 minutes. And those of you who are watching us online can also prepare the questions so that you can raise them after 15 minutes. Thank you.
Lợi nhuận trước thuế của Techcombank đạt mức kỷ lục hơn 12.000 tỷ đồng năm 2019 đã ghi nhận hành trình phát triển vượt trội của Techcombank với mức tăng trưởng doanh thu 17 quý liên tiếp. Với thành tựu ấn tượng này, Techcombank là ngân hàng duy nhất có tên trong top 3 bảng xếp hạng VN Profit 500 doanh nghiệp tư nhân có lợi nhuận cao nhất 2019 cùng hai tập đoàn Vingroup và Vinamilk. Kiên định thực hiện chương trình e-banking không đồng từ tháng 9 năm 2016 và chương trình debit cashback từ 2018, Techcombank đã mang lại nụ cười cho hàng triệu khách hàng khi giúp khách hàng giao dịch qua kênh điện tử an toàn hơn, tiết kiệm chi phí và thời gian hơn. Nếu số lượng giao dịch của khách hàng cá nhân năm 2016 mới chỉ ở mức 500 đến 600 nghìn giao dịch một tháng, thì đến tháng 9 năm 2019 đã tăng lên mức 17 đến 18 triệu giao dịch một tháng với mức tăng gần 30 lần. Mảng khách hàng doanh nghiệp cũng ghi nhận chỉ số rất ấn tượng với Fast e-bank không đồng sau 18 tháng triển khai, khi số lượng giao dịch tăng từ 400.000 giao dịch một tháng từ tháng 7 năm 2018 lên mức 2 triệu giao dịch một tháng ở thời điểm hiện tại. Thành công từ e-banking và Fast e-bank đã góp phần thay đổi thói quen dùng tiền của người Việt, thu hút nhiều ngân hàng đi theo và tạo hiệu ứng giảm chi phí cho người dân và doanh nghiệp Việt Nam. Trong năm 2019, Techcombank đã đón nhận thêm hơn 1 triệu khách hàng mới với lượng giao dịch của khách hàng tăng ở tất cả các kênh, đặc biệt là kênh điện tử và giao dịch thông qua các tiện ích thanh toán, đưa Techcombank thực sự trở thành ngân hàng số. Cũng chính nhờ nền tảng số hiện đại và các giải pháp dịch vụ hướng đến khách hàng là trọng tâm, tỷ lệ CASA của Techcombank đã đạt con số ấn tượng, chiếm tỷ lệ 30% dẫn đầu toàn thị trường ngành ngân hàng. Dư nợ cho vay khách hàng cá nhân lần đầu tiên vượt 100.000 tỷ đồng, chiếm tỷ lệ hơn 40% trên tổng dư nợ toàn hàng. Trong năm 2019, có thêm hơn 26.000 khách hàng đã được tạo điều kiện mua nhà để ở và mua xe ô tô thông qua vốn vay tại Techcombank. Đây là thành quả từ nỗ lực am hiểu khách hàng, cải tiến sản phẩm, quy trình thẩm định phê duyệt và giải ngân khoản vay để đáp ứng nhu cầu vốn vay của khách hàng thuộc phân khúc thu nhập khá và cao. Với tư duy thiết kế sản phẩm xuất phát từ am hiểu sâu sắc nhu cầu khách hàng, Techcombank tập trung chuyển đổi số hướng đến trải nghiệm khách hàng tốt nhất và thuận tiện nhất. Khách hàng hiện hữu chỉ mất 15 phút để mở thẻ tín dụng qua kênh giao dịch online, mất 3 phút để mở tiền gửi online với lãi suất cao hơn tại chi nhánh. Dự án quy trình vay mua nhà trên công nghệ M+ giúp khách hàng chỉ mất 20 phút từ khi khởi tạo hồ sơ và được trả kết quả hạn mức tín dụng, trao quyền cho khách hàng chủ động quản lý xuyên suốt hành trình vay. Tập trung tăng trưởng cho vay vốn lưu động mảng doanh nghiệp vào các lĩnh vực trọng tâm, tiếp tục duy trì chỉ số cao, khoảng 55% trong năm 2019. Techcombank đưa ra các giải pháp chuyên biệt cho riêng một số ngành trong lĩnh vực ngành hàng tiêu dùng và nhà ở nhằm cung cấp và hỗ trợ giải quyết những khó khăn riêng, đặc thù riêng của từng ngành một cách triệt để và phù hợp nhất. Nếu tính từ 2017 đến nay, mức tăng vốn lưu động mảng doanh nghiệp lên đến khoảng 250%, từ 17.000 tỷ lên 45.000 tỷ. Năm 2019, Techcombank được tổ chức thẻ quốc tế Visa vinh danh đứng đầu toàn thị trường về doanh số thanh toán qua thẻ Visa tại Việt Nam và trao 7 giải thưởng, số lượng giải nhiều nhất từng được trao cho một ngân hàng. Đối với thẻ tín dụng, giao dịch của khách hàng sử dụng thẻ Techcombank luôn đứng vị trí số 1 thị trường với tỷ lệ hoạt động của thẻ lên tới 87%, cao hơn 17% so với thị trường. Tốc độ tăng trưởng giao dịch tại nước ngoài ghi nhận ở mức 40%, gấp đôi so với thị trường. Giao dịch thẻ ghi nợ Techcombank tăng trưởng ở mức ngoạn mục 160%, hơn gấp 4 lần tốc độ tăng trưởng trung bình của thị trường. Với những thành tựu đột phá, Techcombank không chỉ được ghi nhận bởi tổ chức thẻ quốc tế Visa mà cả tổ chức NAPAS như ngân hàng triển khai hiệu quả các chính sách mang tính đột phá và dẫn dắt thị trường trong việc sử dụng dịch vụ thanh toán không dùng tiền mặt ở cả dịch vụ ngân hàng điện tử e-banking và thẻ debit. Với mức tỷ suất lợi nhuận trên tài sản ROA đạt 2,8%, Techcombank được tổ chức tài chính JP Morgan xếp hạng đứng đầu về hiệu quả hoạt động toàn ngành ngân hàng. Theo JP Morgan, Techcombank là một trong những ngân hàng hiếm hoi trên toàn khu vực đang tạo lợi nhuận ở cả hai mặt của bảng cân đối kế toán, cho thấy tầm nhìn dài hạn về lợi nhuận. Từ mùng 1 tháng 7 năm 2019, Techcombank đã chính thức được Ngân hàng Nhà nước Việt Nam trao quyết định áp dụng chuẩn mực Basel II. Theo đó, ngân hàng sẽ được quyền tự quản lý dư nợ trên hệ số an toàn vốn. Tỷ lệ an toàn vốn của Techcombank theo Basel II luôn cao hơn gấp đôi so với yêu cầu tối thiểu ở mức 8% của trụ cột 1 trong Basel II. Chiến lược lấy khách hàng làm trọng tâm của Techcombank tập trung vào 6 lĩnh vực kinh tế chính, chiếm khoảng 48% GDP của Việt Nam và có tốc độ tăng trưởng 16%, hơn gấp đôi mức tăng trưởng GDP. Techcombank kết nối các lĩnh vực kinh tế với nhau, thúc đẩy phát triển các chuỗi giá trị từ người tiêu dùng cuối cho đến những nhà sản xuất, nhà phân phối. Chiến lược này giúp Techcombank có thể quản lý dòng tiền, hiểu rõ hành vi và nhu cầu của các khách hàng giao dịch trong chuỗi giá trị, từ đó có thể quản trị rủi ro, đồng thời đem lại giá trị cao nhất cho khách hàng và cho ngân hàng. Khối quản trị ngân hàng và khối ngân hàng giao dịch toàn cầu đã được phê duyệt thành lập chính thức vào tháng 9 năm 2019. Theo đó, khối quản trị ngân hàng chịu trách nhiệm đảm bảo thông điệp và hình ảnh của tổ chức luôn được chính xác và nhất quán, theo đúng các mục tiêu chiến lược. Khối ngân hàng giao dịch toàn cầu sẽ xây dựng các giải pháp vượt trội trong toàn bộ vòng đời của khách hàng doanh nghiệp thông qua việc triển khai nền tảng xuất sắc và dịch vụ khách hàng đặc biệt. Văn phòng hội sở mới Techcombank Agile Center tại 119 Trần Duy Hưng, Hà Nội đã chính thức đón hơn 2.000 Techcomers về làm việc từ tháng 10 năm 2019. Môi trường làm việc mới với thiết kế hiện đại được đầu tư tối ưu về tiện ích, tạo điều kiện cho cán bộ nhân viên chủ động về vị trí làm việc, giúp gia tăng hiệu quả và tương tác nhóm, đồng thời giúp tăng cường gắn kết giữa ngân hàng với cán bộ nhân viên. Kết quả đo lường năm 2019 về chỉ số hiệu quả cán bộ nhân viên EES và khảo sát sức khỏe tổ chức OHI đã đạt mức kỷ lục khi EES đạt 74%, nằm trong top 20% của khu vực, và OHI đạt mức 88, nằm trong top 25% ngân hàng đứng đầu Đông Nam Á. Những chỉ số này đã minh chứng cho sự gắn kết, tin tưởng và đồng lòng của các Techcommerce trên hành trình chuyển đổi 4 năm qua để cùng nhau nỗ lực vượt trội hơn mỗi ngày. Đây cũng chính là yếu tố cốt lõi để Techcombank được vinh danh là tổ chức có môi trường làm việc hàng đầu thế giới ngành ngân hàng tại giải thưởng danh giá Steve Awards. 2019 là năm đánh dấu thành công lớn của Techcombank trong việc dẫn dắt phong trào thể thao cộng đồng vượt trội vì sức khỏe người dân. Qua 3 mùa tổ chức, giải marathon quốc tế thành phố Hồ Chí Minh Techcombank 2019 đã đạt thành công vang dội, thu hút kỷ lục 12.780 người tham gia chạy, hơn 30.000 người tham gia trực tiếp hưởng ứng sự kiện, hơn 1 triệu người nhận biết và đóng góp vào quỹ từ thiện 2 tỷ đồng. Giải marathon quốc tế thành phố Hồ Chí Minh Techcombank cũng vinh dự trở thành giải thi đấu chính thức trong hệ thống điền kinh quốc gia từ năm 2020 và là thành viên của Hiệp hội Marathon Thế giới AIMS, cũng như giải chạy đầu tiên tại Việt Nam được cộng điểm trong hệ thống Upboard World Marathon Major. Bên cạnh đó, giải Techcombank Ironman 70.3 châu Á Thái Bình Dương 2019 cũng lọt top 3 sự kiện thể thao phong trào MPW do SPAA châu Á 2019 công bố. Trong thời gian tới, xu hướng sống vượt trội hơn mỗi ngày sẽ tiếp tục tiên phong dẫn dắt các vấn đề được xã hội quan tâm, đặc biệt là môi trường sống xanh và sạch để be greener, be greater. Nỗ lực của Techcombank trong việc đem đến giải pháp thanh toán vượt trội, ứng dụng công nghệ hiện đại cho các cá nhân và doanh nghiệp tại Việt Nam đã được các tổ chức uy tín trong nước và quốc tế đánh giá cao. Vị thế ngân hàng hàng đầu của Techcombank đã được ghi nhận với hàng loạt giải thưởng lớn, như ngân hàng tư nhân uy tín nhất Việt Nam từ VN Report, ngân hàng xuất sắc nhất Việt Nam từ Asia Risk và ngân hàng tốt nhất Việt Nam từ Euromoney. Với kết quả kinh doanh ấn tượng cùng những thành tích nổi bật trong năm 2019, Techcombank tự tin hướng đến hoàn thành các mục tiêu năm 2020 và tiếp tục thực hiện giai đoạn 2 của hành trình chuyển đổi để trở thành ngân hàng số 1 Việt Nam. Techcombank vượt trội hơn mỗi ngày.
Looking forward to. So I'd like to invite the members of the BOM to the stage. CEO Nguyễn Lê Quốc Anh, Deputy CEO, Head of CA, Mr. Đỗ Tuấn Anh, Head of our CFO, Mr. Trịnh Bằng, Head of PFS, Ms. Lê Thị Bích Phượng, and Head of Markets, Mr. Vũ Minh Trường. Thank you. Let us start our Q&A with our analysts right now. Let us come to our very first questions. I know you have lots of questions for us, so first question, please. Who has the first question in the room? Microphone for the back of the room. Mr. Phương, I'm Phương from Người Lao động newspaper. I'm sure you are very interested in the COVID-19 outbreak. Given this complex situation, can you share with us about the credit needs of corporate customers given the complex situation right now? And given this virus outbreak, does it have any impact on your plan for this year? And regarding preferential interest rates for businesses who are impacted by the outbreak, what are your plans for that? Thank you for the 3 questions, and all the three questions are about the COVID-19 outbreak. So, Mr. Trường, please, Mr. Vũ Minh Trường, please answer the first 3 questions. Thank you for your questions. Regarding the COVID-19 outbreak, this is a very unprecedented situation in the banking industry, and this is very important to us, to all the divisions in our bank, from CA to business units and divisions. And we have made very thorough analysis of different customer segments and the impact on them. So we look at our retail and corporate and wholesale clients in different economic sectors, and we have made different analysis for them, and we have talked with our customers in person to understand their needs, and we absolutely agree with the SBV's policy that if customers have difficulty, we need to support them. And I can confirm that with customers in difficulty, Techcombank will not reduce or slash their credit limits. Regarding the coronavirus outbreak, like I shared earlier on our base case at Techcombank, after the end of March, hopefully we will control the outbreak in Vietnam. Actually, it's quite good now in Vietnam, and as spring is coming and the weather is getting warmer, hopefully our base case is that the outbreak will be controlled in end of March, and that may have an impact on our GDP by 0.5 to 1%. And for the banking industry in particular, there may be some customers who require capital, and the lending needs may be lower, but the liquidity of the industry is still good. And we already have plans and a solution for BCP, business continuity planning, so that in situations where our employees are infected with the virus, we can still continue our business and serve our customers smoothly. Thank you, Mr. Cheung, for your answer. And here's my update. We are very proactive in preventing the coronavirus. Right at the beginning of the outbreak, all our customers are wearing masks, facial masks, and we provide hand sanitizers and facial masks at our branches. And before we go back to the hall here, we know that we have lots of investors at home and abroad who are watching it online. So I have a question from the online watchers regarding our business results. Our your interest income has not increased in 2019. Your bond fees reduced by 20%, and bancassurance increased only 20% compared to 40% last year. So what are the drivers for your fee income in 2020? Mr. Bang, maybe you can answer the question. Cảm ơn câu trả lời của nhà đầu tư ạ. Thu nhập từ lãi thuần thì sẽ tiếp tục là tập trung của chúng tôi trong lĩnh vực tới.
Maybe I'll highlight in one particular area, the bancassurance. We talked over the last couple quarters how, as we restructured our banca business and building a direct sales force, that took a bit of time in terms of putting that in place and really improving the sales force and front line. And so if you look at the momentum quarter over quarter, from fourth quarter over third quarter, bancassurance fees was actually up 68%. As we look forward, we still see significant opportunities to penetrate our customer base across different segments, from affluent to mass and so on. So we'd expect to see, again, continued growth there if we think about a driver for net fee income going forward. On the bond arrangement side, as another example of a key fee income driver, net non-interest income driver, continue to see very strong demand from our corporate customers. As we've said in the past, the balance between our lending and bond book oftentimes is, again, how we manage against the credit growth limits imposed by the SBV. So again, we are able to shift between the two to support the customer needs of our corporate customers. So we'll continue to see very strong secular growth and demand across all those segments. So again, feel very confident that we'll continue to see strong growth in net fee income going forward.
Xin được cảm ơn Giám đốc khối tài chính kế hoạch anh Trịnh Bằng. Và câu hỏi của các nhà phân tích vẫn được tiếp tục gửi về, và tôi xin phép được
still being sent in, and the second question from the analysts. Before I come back to the hall, so the next question is about Techcombank's business plan for 2020. Given the context where lots of other banks are applying zero fee for transfer, what is Techcombank's goal for CASA in 2020, and what is the tendency for lending and deposit interest rates? Do you have any change? regarding CASA growth, how is CASA growing in 2020, and the lending in deposit interest rates, how does it change in 2020? Maybe Tuấn Anh will answer it first, and then I will elaborate. Well, as other banks are following Techcombank in terms of the zero fee program, so that has created a new trend in the market, which is what we really want to achieve. And we are the pioneers in zero fee waivers for our customers. However, as a pioneer in zero fee, and we have invested lots in technology, and we know that in order to meet our customers' demands, payment demands and payment needs, such as sheer volume, it's not easy for us to do over a short period of time. So in principle, I think we still have comparative advantages compared to other banks in maintaining our CASA flows in our system. And currently our CASA accounts for 32% and will continue to increase in the future given our strategy. So that's what we are very confident about, and we are committed to investing further in our platforms in order to provide our products and services, especially regarding payment services for our customers, so that we can maintain this comparative advantage for us. So that's why we have prioritized IT investment, and we have also looked for access to other sources of funds so that we can have enough resources. CEO Nguyễn Lê Quang, if you have any inputs. Thank you, TA. The interest rates and CASA need to be reflected within the SBV's policy regarding how much credit limit they give us. So we cannot increase deposits without increasing credit, and we cannot increase credit without increasing deposits. So these two things are very interlinked. So so the question is about Techcombank policy for lending and deposit interest rates. Again, these two things need to go hand in hand. And as we look at last year numbers, when we decided to reduce interest rates for our customers, so that it was because we reduce our deposit interest rates, and that requires to execute our strategy and so that's a necessary condition. And can we handle our interest rates? So that rely a lot on our credit growth, and these two things cannot be separated. And we already have our orientation and policy, but we still need to align with the SBV policy. So that's what I want to emphasize. Next question, please. Next question from the hall here. Thanh Thương first. Microphone for her, please. My name is Thanh Thương. I'm from Saigon Economic Times. I have two questions for you. First, from since 2016 now, Techcombank has grown remarkably with the great effort of Mr. QA, but from September this year, Mr. QA will stop being the CEO of Techcombank. I don't know if your next 5-year strategy, 2021 to 2025, will it be maintained? Will it be able to maintain Techcombank's achievements or not? And how? And my second question is that one of Techcombank's incomes is from mortgages, and actually the real estate market in Vietnam is quite urgent. So because some developers are still have some pain points, so maybe home buyers may not have access to mortgages. Does it have any impact on loans for home loans at Techcombank or not? Can I ask you? Can you choose one question for me to answer? I can only answer one, and then other people will have other questions as well. Do you choose one or two? Okay, I choose one. can you answer question 1? And QA, please elaborate on the handover. What is your preparation for succession planning? Okay, I try my best to answer the first question, and I'm not sure if I can satisfy your question. But first, I'm not a prophet, so I don't know. I have no idea what is going on in the future. What I can only focus on what is going at the present. Will be the next CEO in the next 5 years? I cannot foresee that. I cannot predict that. But I can say that the platform that we have built at Techcombank, if the foundation is strong, we can stay longer, we can last longer. And in Vietnam, we focus on the content and rather than on the appearance. So because I'm not a prophet, I don't know what's going on in the next 5 years. So I can only share with you that from now until September, I will be handing over a lot of work. First, we need to find a new CEO for Techcombank, and this is a very important job of the BOD, and that will affect the futures of Techcombank, and that's a big job of the BOD. And the new CEO, within the treasury and the capability of that person, and that depends a lot on that new CEO's capability and strategy. I cannot say about that. And in the end, I'm just one of the more than 10,000 people at Techcombank, and I contribute only 0.01% of Techcombank's resource. So in other words, everybody at Techcombank contribute to the platform, to the foundation of Techcombank. And like today, we have 5 presenters from our BOM, which is a very strong team. And we agree that we are a very united, strong team. So the success will depend on a team rather than one person. Mr. Tia, I'd like to add up.
I think Techcombank's success during the past 5 years is attributable to QA's contribution and leadership, and we are so privileged to have him with us. And I think it is also a very good and memorable experience for him going forward in delivering our strategy. I think that we will continue to deliver our strategy because that is not QA strategy, it is Techcombank strategy, thoroughly considered and approved by the BOD. I think putting the question to him would be a challenge for him because, as he said, he is not a fortune teller. He cannot tell what happens in the future. I'm head of CA division, but I'm also the vice chairman of the BOD. So I would like to just confirm with you and reassure that we will continue the delivery of our strategy. And Mr. QA will also assist POD in choosing the right CEO who can follow up with what has been done at Techcombank so far. Thank you very much, Mr. TA. And Mr. TA is member of the board as well as head of CIA division and deputy managing director of Techcombank. The second question is related to retail business, so Ms. Phượng will take it. Thank you very much for your interesting question. Let me share with you some information. You mentioned that real estate developers are experiencing some challenges in the market, and this is quite true. However, if we look at the end user's point of view, there is still huge demand for housing in Vietnam. Let me share with you some numbers to illustrate my points. Even though we are experiencing a COVID-19 outbreak, GDP of Vietnam is still expected to grow at 6 to 7% a year, and Vietnamese income is also increasing with that economic growth. Urbanization is also a strong trend going on in Vietnam recent years, and that's why there is a big demand for housing in urban areas. our family structure is also changing. The traditional house or family in Vietnam is a multi-generation household, but now we have the nuclear households or nuclear families with just 2 parents and 2 children, and they don't want to live with the grandparents, and that's why they need their own homes. In our survey, every year there are around 700 to 800,000 newlywed couples, and they want to have their own homes. So let me confirm that there is a huge demand for housing in Vietnam. And when there is a demand, there must be a supply in terms of developing new housing projects or in terms of selling an existing residential homes. Another information that I would like to share with you is the consumption trend or consumption activities. In the past, Vietnamese people, like other Asian people, are very reluctant to borrow. Meanwhile, in Western developed countries, people rely a lot on mortgage. They borrow and then they pay off the loans over the next 20 years, for example. But now in Vietnam, that mindset is changing. Young Vietnamese people who were born in the 1980s are more willing to borrow in order to have their consumption needs satisfied. They are not as reluctant as their parents and grandparents in borrowing. So on the one hand, we have a huge demand for housing, and on the other hand, we have a changing mindset of Vietnamese younger generation in terms of borrowing and taking a mortgage to finance their home. So our plan is still to grow our lending portfolio by 35% every year. Thank you very much, Ms. Phượng. Now the next question, please. My name is Ha, and I come from HSC Securities Company. And I have a question related to the mortgage portfolio and mortgage lending balance. As you said, you have a value chain approach to the housing economic sector, and by the end of last year, it is more than 200 trillion and for the whole market. So if we look at Techcombank's market share, your mortgage market share, 77% of your lending is for the housing sector, and then you lend to real estate developers, to the end users, and also to contractors and SMEs in the housing sector. So in your opinion, 77% of your market share, 77% of your interest income for retail business comes from housing. So do you think that this is too much concentration on the housing sector, because a lot of your interest income comes from this sector? And as you said, in 2020, you still continue to develop the housing sector by 35%. I'm just wondering whether it is too much concentration. And do you think that is a big risk? Because for the banking sector, I think that investors are quite skeptical and are quite worried about concentration risk. So what do you have to say in this regard so that investors can feel at ease? Okay, TA can take that question and then I can add on. Thank you very much. We do understand your concerns over concentration risks in general and the concentration on the housing sector in particular at Techcombank. And if you still remember the slide I talked on housing sector as an example of how we adopt the value chain approach, I said that the housing sector is one of the 6 economic sectors that we choose to focus on. And we have been developing our capabilities in order to serve the whole value chain, including all players across the value chain in the housing sector, the ecosystem. At the same time, we are also developing our capabilities in automobile, FMCG, telecommunication, as well as hospitality, travel, and leisure. So those are the other 5 economic sectors that we also choose to focus on. And in order to be successful in all the 6 economic sectors that we choose, we need to build very strong and comprehensive capabilities in business activities in general and in banking services and activities in particular. We need to well manage our concentration risks, and we need to have very strong capabilities in line with our low risk, high return strategy so that we can maximize shareholders' value. So on slide 17, you can see that we are now shifting our lending structure in the housing sector. We lend less to real estate developers, and now we lend more to construction companies, to contractors, to SME companies that provide and sell construction materials and building materials. And more particularly, we lend most to the end users, I mean the home buyers. Another thing that I would like to share with you is how we manage our risk. When we lend to individual home buyers, for example, in line with our low risk, high return strategy, we just focus on the affluent and mass affluent segments who have high income, who have a stable source of income, and who are capable of paying back their loans. And in practice, that shows that is a right strategy, and our NPL ratio for this housing sector is less than 1%. And in the same fashion, we also choose to partner with real estate developers that are very strong and have an established reputation and financial standing in the market. We don't partner with any developer. We only choose to partner with those developers that have a strong land bank, who have good financial standing. So we are very selective in who we lend to, be it a large corporate customers or be it an individual home buyer. That allows us to best manage risks and grow our revenue. Responding more directly to your question, whether it is too much concentration risk, our risk management policies and appetite and regulations fully comply with not only our own risk appetite but also to the regulations of SBV and Basel II. So there are a lot of room for our development, not only in housing sector, but we are now also focusing on the other 5 economic sectors by building strong capabilities. But this depends very much on the credit growth cap that the SBV gives us, because we cannot grow our credit unlimitedly. We need to respond and satisfy the needs, the financial needs of our customers, but we need to comply with SBV regulations. Thank you, TA. Let me just follow up what TA has said. Let us go back to the previous page. The 6 economic sectors that we choose to focus on is to serve the enterprises as well as the large corporate customers. 15% is the share for each economic sector. So 15% of our lending is going to large corporates as well as the SME customers. So it is not too much concentration. But when you say that 77% of interest income for retail business comes from the housing sector, yes, that is true. But why in Basel II? the mortgage loan balance is now less than 100%. I mean, the risk weight is less than 100%. And once the house is handed over to the home buyers, then the risk weight is less than 50%. That is the standards, Basel II standards. The reasons here is that when we lend to the end users or the final home buyers, that means our borrowers have different sources of income. Each borrower, each end user works in a particular industry, and their sources of income depends on the ups and downs of those industries that they work in. This is quite theoretical, but you see, for example, a borrower may work in an FMCG industry, or may work in an automobile industry, or may work in a travel and leisure industry, and their incomes depend on the ups and downs of those industries. Whether they are able to pay us back in the next 20 years, for example, depends on the ups and downs of those industries. And when there are economic cycles, the ups and downs of the whole economy, then different industries will be impacted. But when it comes to the end users, they work in so many different industries, and that's why our risk is not the risk of the housing sector. That risks are spread all over the 6 economic sectors that we choose to focus on. So if you look at the next page, you should not just add up the 2 last columns, because these 2 last columns are just the economic sectors, the housing. But when we look at the risk here does not come from the housing sector alone. The risk here comes from the ups and downs of different industries and sectors that the borrowers, I mean the home buyers, work in, because those industries will decide the source of income. One person may work in real estate, but another person may work in FMCG or in automobile or telecommunication. That's why the risks are spread out. It is true that our lending to the housing sector is still very big. Yes, that is true. It is still big, and it is still higher than the number we want. But in the future, maybe the new CEO can drive the number down further. But during the past 5 years, Techcombank has been able to shift the structure of our lending in the housing sector. In the past, nearly 70 to 80% of our lending was going to large corporate customers. But now we are shifting our lending away from the large corporate customers, more towards SMEs, borrowers, and especially more towards individual customers. And by doing that, we are able to spread the risks to different customer segments. And if you look at the 67 trillion, the 19 to 20 trillion lending is short-term loans to SME customers. They are maybe the furniture providers, maybe they are the home fitting companies or the interior decoration companies. And we just give them short-term working capital loans. It is not long-term. So we are shifting our lending portfolio not only in terms of who we lend to, but also in terms of the loan tenors, as well as the credit worthiness of the borrowers. I think that we have some Excel spreadsheet in our financial reports. Maybe a spreadsheet for BB lending. BB stands for business banking, taking care of the small and medium-sized enterprises that we lend to. So if you go to the appendix, for example, you can see that the loan by tenor by BB business. So 83% of BB lending is short term, and only 17% of BB lending is long term. It comes from the Excel spreadsheet that we have here regarding the loan by tenor to BB customers. So if you look at the details, then you can see that our lending should be looked at in granular details and numbers. If you just look at a high-level number, maybe you will be worried a little bit. I'm an investor myself. I'm a shareholder myself. And am I worried? Yeah, on the one hand, yes, because if I just look at the high level number, then maybe it is worrying. But if you look deeper, you can see that no, actually it is not worrying. Can you show the Excel spreadsheet? No? Okay. So, a clearer answer to your question is that our concentration ratio in the housing sector is still a little bit higher than what we want, and we will try to reduce it further. Thank you very much for the interesting question from HSC Securities Company, and please don't forget that strategy of Techcombank is to serve customers' financial needs, and here we lend to the customers so that they can satisfy their residential home needs for residential home rather than for speculation. Please, next question, please.
Câu hỏi của tôi.
So certainly slide 32 represents some big achievements, but if I can draw your focus to transaction banking. So knowing that after your IPO you did invest in a new transaction banking platform and your aspirations to become a powerhouse in non-interest income, I'm a bit surprised by the result of the percentage in 2019. So if you can help us understand what's happening with transaction banking, and if I can ask you to try to wrap your answer in some specific numbers, which will help us understand this going forward.
Với câu hỏi liên quan ngân hàng giao dịch thì anh
Bằng trả lời.
xin kính mời anh Bằng ạ, Giám đốc khối tài chính kế hoạch.
Bằng tiếng Việt. Just kidding.
Cảm ơn anh Long vì câu hỏi của anh ạ.
Again, there's two parts of it. One is the technology part of it. The other is solutions and processes, right? So we continue to work on improving our processes and solutions on the transaction banking side. There's also the technology investment. So the new transaction banking platform is something that we continue to work on. There's a lot of moving pieces of that is coming in 2020. And then aside from that, the ongoing work that we're doing on behalf of our customers on the transaction banking side include, again, the letters of credits, fees, FX sales. Those are growing. I think a lot of this is, again, more a function of us continuing to improve our internal processes and as well as ultimately improving our systems. Is it where we want it to be relative to where we talked about at the IPO? Not necessarily. Do we see is there room for improvement, and will it continue to accelerate as we continue to improve, deliver the new transaction platform? Yes. What we've seen in the past quarter or so as we've increased, for example, our FEB enhancements, which is our fast e-banking for businesses. Again, more and more of our customers are going online. So in our business banking, they're transacting more, they're using more of our services. So again, I would see it. This chart, what you can really see here is as we segment less on product, but more on customer segments, you can see that there's strong growth across the corporate as well as the retail. So in that, we would expect to see stronger growth. So again, strong growth in terms of what we're seeing in terms of demand. I think, again, we're going to continue to focus on improving our processes and then delivering the broader technology platform in the coming year.
Ok. Với lại để nói thêm nữa, nói vòng vòng chẳng qua nói thẳng nói thật chứ.
To expand on the CFO's ideas, transaction banking platform is a difficult task. And talking about execution, we still need, we are delayed by 6 to 8 months. And the cash flows through transaction banking is not as what we expect. And we have invested up to 30 million on our transaction banking platform, which is a very big project at Techcombank. And regarding other regional and local banks and even technology companies at home and abroad, they are still unable to hit their own expectations yet. And the fact is that we are delayed. We are behind our schedules. This March, so we still have about 1 month before the first round of the transaction banking platform for large corporates will go live. And by September this year, it will be rolled out. So that's only the initial stage. And once this project goes live, it will provide new models and put new models in place in the next 2 years. And by then, it will. Can I have the page on the CASA percentages of each segment, the one on Phượng presentation? Page 26. If you look at our retail growth, we grow from 10 trillion to 46 trillion. Wholesale banking are going flat, and BB has doubled. So transaction banking platform requires large corporations to make transactions like individual customers, and the growth is not strong yet because the platform is not in place yet. And when Phượng said that over the last 3 years, we invested about $100 million on our platform for individual customers, and we invested only $30 million for transaction banking platform. So the transaction banking platform project is not ready yet. So wholesale banking increase is not strong, and BB and SME growth is not sufficient yet. And when we go live, fee and CASA will increase dramatically. So in general, we are behind our schedule in terms of transaction banking platform execution. Thank you. Next question from the analysts via the online portal. So can you look at the impact of reducing cost of funds and the cost for the zero fee banking and the 1% cashback? Maybe Mr. Bang can respond to that.
It's about giving up on certain fees, and what does that mean for the bank? As part of our strategy, and I think as QA mentioned earlier, it is meeting the customer needs, giving them what they want, and in this case, zero fee, 1% cashback is a service that we provide to meet a customer need, but then we realize that we acknowledge there's a benefit on the CASA side. So for example, we talked in the last AP about what is that 1% for the full year, and it's roughly 260 billion that we've given up on 1%. When we think about what we benefited from that, it's a function of the reduction in deposit costs as well as the increased transaction from our customers. So that together represents about 1.2 trillion. So benefiting 1.2 trillion in terms of lower deposit costs increased transactions. So in terms of the driver for increased transaction, that helps us with our interchange fees. And so that is 1.2 versus the 260 that we've given up at 1%. So again, it's a fee that we're happy to give up. What we typically say is that's not a good fee. And in exchange for that, when you think about less from a product perspective, but much more from a customer need perspective, we do benefit from that. So that would be how we look at it. And again, we've recognized that benefit through the gains I just mentioned.
Xin được cảm ơn anh Trịnh Bằng. Và câu hỏi tiếp theo là xin được dành cho anh Đỗ Tuấn Anh.
The next question for Mr. Đỗ Tuấn Anh. Techcombank is maintaining the capital adequacy ratio is quite high according to Basel II's requirements. Why are you keeping such a high capital adequacy ratio, and does it have any impact on capital efficiency? Thank you for your question. It's true that in my presentation I said that Techcombank is maintaining a very high capital adequacy ratio, highest in the industry, and to us, this is a comparative advantage of us in terms of our financial capability. This allows us to develop our business, especially credit management. I can say that in recent years, Techcombank is among the top banks to receive the highest credit growth limits from the SPV, normally much higher than the average credit limit of the industry. So that's one of the factors that we pay attention to in order to increase our financial capability and sustain our growth in subsequent times. And like we mentioned earlier in our orientation, we need to make a lot of investments. So our committed capital from our shareholders and our equity commitment is one of the drivers that help us to make investments in infrastructure, especially technology. And with such a high capital adequacy ratio, it allows us to target customers or sectors that are in line with our business strategies without being constrained on our equity or financial capability. Also at Techcombank, from the CEO to other members of the BOM, we are very experienced in international banking institutions, and we have experienced different stages of development in the banking system, including the most difficult situation like the financial crisis in the US and Europe. So as you can see, that financial safety is very important. So at Techcombank, the BOM BOD wish to keep a high capital adequacy ratio so that we can ride over difficult situations in the market. Thank you, Mr. Tuấn Anh, for your answer. And we will go back to a question from the room. Any question from here? Let us go to more online questions. And this question is about bancassurance market share of Techcombank. Is it Techcombank losing our market share on the bancassurance market? And what is your expectation for bancassurance development in 2020? Thank you for the question about bancassurance. As you may see, customers' insurance needs are increasing, and in 2019, our total APE increased by 30% compared to 2018. The reason for the lower growth compared to the previous years is that we are transforming our business models to build the bancassurance platform. Most banks opt to become a channel to distribute insurance products for insurers, and they use a referral model to work with customers. The model that we choose is the direct sale model. So why do we choose the direct sale model? As you may know, our strategy is customer centricity. So we want to ensure that we have the capability to advise insurance products for our customers rather than just referring them, and use our the advisor from insurers. So this is a big change in our business model, because we would like to ensure the best benefits and services for our customers. And last year, we spent a lot of resources on moving from the referral to the direct sales model. And we have only about around 300 to 400 frontline staff from insurers. Now, nearly 4,000 employees at Techcombank have been trained and certified so that they can advise customers on insurance products. And this is a preparation for us for subsequent years with our direct sales model. So that's the first point. Second, we have focused on changing and digitalizing our processes for providing bancassurance products to our customers. And this is an important leap forward for us for 2020. And third, as we prepare for the direct sale model, in 2019, we try hard to acquire as many new customers as possible who use our services, and so that we can develop a customer base, and we can advise and upsell, cross-sell other products for our customers. So these are the three important pillars for 2019 that we prepared for the greater results in 2020 and beyond, and so that we can align with our customer centricity strategy. So these are some of my points that I share with you. Thank you, Phượng. I'd like to expand on Phượng answer. I'd like to stand up and of all banking services, bancassurance is the only product that the Ministry of Finance of Vietnam requires certification. Now, this is important. We need to adopt a very different model. If a bank staff provides direct advice for customers, this is very different from when they just refer customers to an insurer. So the insurer will provide advice to that customer. So these are two different models. And in most places in the world, especially developed countries, insurance needs are still satisfied by insurers via agents. On the other hand, in other countries, banks will provide advice directly to customers. And how do we adopt that model? So in 2019, we changed to that new model. Why is it important to us? Because we want to ensure that, as you know, that the Ministry of Finance of Vietnam doesn't want us to mis-sell. So we want to avoid mis-selling to our customers in bancassurance. So for some customers, we may refer them to insurers, but we are more interested so we are concerned about referring our customers to insurers, and we know nothing about what is going on next. So we needed to change the way we work. So in 2019, we asked all our staff at branches in direct contact with customers and who are capable of interacting with customers and advising customers on life insurance products. Those staff need to have certificates from the Ministry of Finance, and like Phượng said, in 2019, we provided training for 4,000 of our staff, and they are all now certified to provide advice to our customers, and the number will of course change. And so as insurers pay the agent's fee to banks, Now it has changed because we work directly with our customers, and insurers will only develop products based on Techcombank's customers' needs. So I repeat, because we use the direct sales model, like Phượng said, so we provide the necessary conditions for the requirements so that insurers will design or develop products or services according to our requirements. So that's a big change in our model. And the numbers may change in subsequent years, but in general, once again, this is a huge change in the financial industry in Vietnam. Thank you, Ms. Phượng and Mr. QA, answers on Year House, answers on bancassurance, and time flies, and let us go to the last question. Any question from here? Let us move to an analyst question via the online platform on Techcombank strategy for the next 5 years. Why has Techcombank decided to go international and you choose lending products, not bond product? Are you going to increase your equity in the future? Mr. Cheung, can you answer that question? I'd like to clarify the question first. So I think you are asking about us mobilizing funds on the international markets. In terms of Vietnam's macroeconomic rating, as we grow stronger at Techcombank, a lot of investors and lenders or bond buyers, they are very interested in Techcombank, meaning that this is an opportunity for us to mobilize additional funds for ourselves. 10 years ago, Techcombank mainly mobilized funds from term deposits from our customers. But today and in the next 5 years, I think our picture will change a lot. And I believe that will create a very good motivation for our growth and for our competitiveness. So if you can see, our CASA accounts for up to 31 or 32% of our total deposits. And we will keep mobilizing other sources, and international funds is only one of them. And for example, recently we have looked at other factors, for example, markets, costs, on how to mobilize funds the fastest as possible. And we have launched a borrowing transaction of $300 million, and it's very likely that we will close this deal in the next April or May, depending on the SBV's approval. Also, we have looked at other factors, for example, certificates of deposits, which we are pushing a lot, and bond underwriting locally. And we may also underwrite bonds internationally, so that will strengthen our capability to mobilize resources. So we no longer rely on TD or term deposit, and that will create a lot of momentum for our competitiveness. Thank you.
Thank you. As I said earlier, we are running out of time. However, I have a question online from HSC, and this is related to the business performance of Techcombank, and this will be the last question we have today. The cost of credit is one important factor that contributes to a very impressive PBT. So do you think that the cost of credit is going down to the minimum level or not? And what is your estimates of your cost of credit in 2020? So I guess that the CFO will take this.
We've worked very hard, as we've talked about over the last hour and a half, and over the last really 5 years, on how to, again, pursue a low-risk, low risk, high return strategy. And a lot of that, again, is through segmentation, knowing where to play, knowing where to lend, diversity of revenues. So, and by writing off our legacy loans, we've been able to decrease our credit costs quite dramatically. We've seen, again, as Joe mentioned earlier, prior to the COVID-19 outbreak, the outlook for the economy going over the next year and in subsequent years was very positive. So, and choosing the economic segments we pursued, and with the business model, we felt very confident and still do in the Vietnamese consumer. So when we talk about credit costs or where we are in the cycle, again, the underlying secular demand is still there. We've been able to dramatically reduce our credit costs. I think the environment ahead in 2020 remains a bit evolving at this point, so it's hard to say where it will be. But as Jung mentioned, hopefully if things do turn around before the end of the first half and we recover, again, that will then be driven again by the underlying secular trends that we've pursued, and again, the business model. So it's meeting the customer needs. I think we've shown again that the specific provisions, if you will, have dropped dramatically. QA had mentioned earlier, our CEO mentioned that our coverage ratio now has increased at 95%. So we're well positioned, again, when it comes to managing risk and knowing where to play. And then the rest of it, again, I think will be driven by the customer needs, and hopefully, once we get past this outbreak, things will continue to grow strongly. Thank you.
Xin được trân trọng cảm ơn.
Thì được một chi phí rủi ro thấp. Thank you very much, Mr. Trịnh Bang, for your answers. And this is the last question for today only. And we are always willing to receive your further questions. If you have any further questions, you can send your questions to our email address of ir@techcombank.com.vn. So if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to send us through our email address. Again, thank you, the CEO, as well as other members of the management. And I wish to see you again in the next our analyst presentation for the first quarter of 2020. Thank you and see you again.